Today we're going to talk about making your emergency room visit with your loved one with dementia a lot less stressful. Hi, it's me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers with love, laughter, and lessons learned. Today I have with me Dr. Brittany Lamb, and she's going to talk about making your emergency visit a lot less stressful for your loved one with dementia.
Hey there, I'm Dr. Brittany Lamb. I'm an emergency medicine physician, and online I work with dementia families to help them anticipate, plan, and learn about the medical decisions that they're likely to have to make on behalf of their person. So today I want to share with you some tips that you can use to make an ER visit with your person less stressful. Unfortunately, it's highly likely that at some point along your person's journey living with dementia, they're going to wind up needing to come into the emergency department, because what happens when people have an unexpected issue and we have a need for access to unplanned care, oftentimes people will come into the ER because it's kind of the most convenient thing, especially if you can't get in to see your person's doctor. So I have 5 tips for you I'm going to share with you in this video. I did write a blog post. It's a 2-part blog about 10 tips, and there's a lot more detail there, a lot more of my rationale. So I do recommend that you go over to blammd.com/blog and scroll back in time and look for the 10 tips to make an ER visit less stressful blog post. There's 2 of them. So I'm going to talk about 5. So here we go. Number 1 is that I need you to realize that the medical record is not always accurate, and we need to be reminded that your person's living with dementia. And when I say we, I mean like anyone that you interact with in the emergency department. The tech, the nurse, the physician, and the person who's making the medical decisions with you. So that person's likely to be a doctor, physician, or a physician assistant, which we call a PA, or a nurse practitioner. Those are the 3 types of medical professionals that will help you make medical decisions in the emergency department. We need to be reminded, and then we also want the nurses and the techs to be reminded as well, because they're going to be more at the bedside with you, helping to take care of and advocate for your person. I know it's frustrating to hear me say that we want you to tell us that your person's living with dementia, but I promise you it's worth doing, because it's going to help your person have better care. Sometimes in the emergency department, when we are really busy, these different pieces and people who work in the ER, we don't talk to each other. So the tech doesn't always get to talk to the nurse doesn't always get to talk to the medical professional helping you make medical decisions. And so it may be frustrating that you keep having to kind of repeat yourself and tell people, but oftentimes when we're really busy, there's not really a great way for us to close the loop and communicate about this type of thing. And so I do recommend that you have it written down someplace that you can just show, like on a business card that you can bring out, like on a keychain. If you have a note written on your phone, you could flash that to us. People have used that with me before. Also like, hey, can I talk to you outside in the hallway for a second? That's another tactic that you can use. So we just need to know, because it makes a huge difference, right? We need to know that you're involved with making your person's medical decisions and that you're helping your person do that. So definitely tell us, okay? I also want you, tip number 2 is I want you to ask questions, all right? If something doesn't make sense to you, if you're not comfortable with something, please ask questions. If you're going home, ask when you might need to come back. Ask who you need to follow up with. What medications need to be changed? Are there any medications that need to be changed? What types of testing are we doing in the emergency department? What did we do? What medications are we given? Like, I need you to ask questions if things don't make sense to you, because I find that a lot of people don't do this, and then it makes their visit feel like less worth it, essentially. So make sure that you speak your mind and ask questions. Tip number 3 is that it's really a good idea to have a to-go kit if you're going to the emergency department. And inside of that to-go kit, you can actually put like a pad and a piece of paper, so that while you're sitting there in the emergency department, you can think to yourself, okay, comments, questions, concerns. Are there any things that I need to tell the staff, things that I need to ask about? What is my goal in coming here, and what do I need help with, and what questions can I ask to get help, okay? You can ask if there's a pharmacist that can help you. You can ask if there's a social worker or discharge planner that might be able to help you get more services in your house or help you better take care of your person. So asking questions is huge. But tip number 3 about the to-go kit, in your to-go kit, I also want you to have your person's documents. So the medical power of attorney document, If your person has any advanced directives like living will or 5 wishes, that would be good to include in there. Obviously, like their ID, a copy of their ID, a copy of their insurance card. Things that you can use to keep them occupied and busy in the ER can be really helpful. So a game, a book, you can bring in a blanket or a stuffed animal. I oftentimes remind people that it's good to think about how we're going to keep your person oriented in the emergency department. So familiar with what's going on in their surroundings. So maybe a watch, a pair of glasses, consider whether or not you would want to bring their hearing aids. So all of these things can help decrease the risk of worsening confusion and agitation in the ER. If you're interested, if you go over to my website, it's blammd.com. If you type in /to-go, there is an actual example of what I would include in your to-go kit. So you can get that from my website. It's free. So go and look at that. And then tips number 4 and number 5 kind of go together. So tip number 4 is that I really need you to know and understand and take ownership of your person's medical history. So I teach this because what I find happens is people say, oh, everything's in the chart, everything's in the chart. And if you go through the mental exercise of actually compiling your person's medical history, what medical conditions they have, what medications they take, what allergies they have, what surgeries they've had, what parts of their body have caused them pain in the past. Like if you compile all of that, it helps you kind of look towards the future, helps you understand, okay, my person has some issues or they don't have a ton of issues. Like what can I expect to have happen to them in the future? It helps with that. It also helps keep people like me inside of your room. So if you have that medical history compiled and you put it in your to-go kit and you show it to me, then I can actually stay in your room, review that document in person. I'm not trying to log into a computer. I'm not trying to go back out to my computer in the middle of the emergency department and avoid being distracted by people handing me EKGs and asking me to get on the phone or asking me to come see a really sick patient. I can kind of focus on you and have a better conversation with you. And the last thing, tip number 5, is I need you to know your person's goals of care, because we cannot make any medical decisions without knowing from which point we are starting. And I've done a whole video for you here on goals of care. If you're interested in learning more about goals of care, I do recommend that you check out my blog, blammd.com/blog. I've written lots of articles about goals of care. And when I talk about this, I'm basically meaning like how aggressive do we want someone's care to be from a big picture standpoint? Are we doing everything? Are we doing some things but not all things? Or are we focused on comfort? If you can at least come to the table having a conversation with any medical professional that's helping you make decisions with that information, you're going to have a much better conversation, and we're going to make sure that we're picking treatment and care that lines up with what your person would want if they were able to choose for themselves.
Thank you, Dr. Brittany. As always, you give us good information for our caregivers. Tune in next week for another tip brought to you by Arden Courts, where all they do is memory care, and have a delicious day.